So when I get into this regression, I'm in a field with a mantid being. Again, this mantid being is wearing a purple cape like the last regression. But this one was a different mantid being, very old mantid being and a tall mantid being. And we're looking up at Orion's belt. And I asked this mantid being, what are we doing here? So it takes one of its appendages and it goes like this to me. Then it puts the same hand on my heart, and then the other hand it points to Orion's belt. So it's not speaking to me, it's not telepathically saying anything, it just says look up. So when I look up, one of these golden orbs that I see comes down and morphs into a triangular shaped craft, lands on the field, and from that craft come out these three owl beings. They have the face of a man, they have beards, and they have golden armor. It's almost like they have a robotic voice. The leader says, come with me.
Welcome back. I'm here again with Mack. If you haven't seen the prior episode, please watch that first. But we're at the point where, quote unquote, that's when the fun started. So you see these orbs. They're starting to show up, different color. You're not sure what they are. You're trying to rationalize them away. What happens next?
So what happens next is certain days I work from home. And again, I'm not a paranoid guy. I'm fairly sane. I start hearing helicopters outside my apartment. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, I know that the helicopters go, if I'm facing you, they go from left to right and they go like in a parallel form past the city. Now I'm hearing helicopters going over my freaking apartment building. I'm like, what's going on? And I'm thinking, okay, 1 is okay, 2 is okay, 3, 4, 5, 6, what the hell's going on? So just by chance, I happen to go out on my balcony. And I go out on my balcony and my building is about 7 stories tall. So again, this was a jet black army helicopter with no insignias, I don't know what the hell it was doing, is hovering right above my apartment. It's just
you know what kind of
right
model? Like Black Hawk, Chinook?
Kind of like a Black Hawk. I actually sent you the photograph of it, but I'll see if I can find it. And it was bizarre because I could only hear the rotor blades. I couldn't hear the engine. Like when you hear the engine of a helicopter, you can hear it vibrating. And this was close. All I heard was a whir, 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 whir. And I'm thinking to myself, what the F is this thing doing so close to my house? And it's hovering over the apartment. Luckily now I keep my phone with me everywhere because I never know when I'm going to have an experience. So
do you have any high tension wires near your apartment? Anything like that?
There's a base close to my house, but I've never seen any kind of army helicopters. Like this is something I never paid attention to. But the reason why I got suspicious was because this thing was just hovering over my place. And I was like, why is it hovering over my place? So then I pulled my phone out and I filmed it. That's what it looks like. And that's so close.
Yeah, that's definitely not a Black Hawk. That's like, it actually looks like a canceled program that they had in the US, like a
let me get the
Comanche,
right,
like the Comanche program, the stealth helicopter.
Like, and this is so clear as day. This is right above my apartment. And I was like, what the hell is this thing doing there? So I got a few pictures of it and I was like, wow, that's nuts. So that's when I started going on X and I put these pictures up and I said, look, orbs, black helicopters, is there a relationship? And by some synchronicity, I came across a podcast called Journey to Truth. And there was an episode by a guy called James Barkley, a reptilian experiencer. And the name of the episode was Black Helicopter Surveillance. And it blew my mind. I was like, oh my goodness, is this really happening? Like, I'm trying to be sane and rational, but I'm kind of connecting the dots. So I reached out to James and I'm like, James, dude, I see orbs. And a few days later, I have this thing right outside my house. And I spoke to a few people and they're like, it could not even be a helicopter. It could be one of them disguised as a helicopter. That was too woo for me. I was like, okay, whatever. I have it on camera. It is what it is.
When the United States and China clash, the world will never be the same, especially when forces beyond reality threaten to intervene. What if the United States went to war with the People's Republic of China? How would these rivals fight for supremacy on land, sea, air, and across the stochastic streams of time? What wonder weapons would be unleashed? What horrors would emerge from the irradiated sludge of the South China Sea? What heroes would rise and forever change the course of history? Tread into the deepest and darkest dimensions of the multiverse, gaze through a kaleidoscope of fractured realities, and bear witness to the disturbing visions of World War III from today's greatest minds in science fiction, fantasy, and horror. Weird World War, China. Available now from Baen Books at baen.com.
So then I started doing more meditations, Joe Dispenza's meditations. The more I meditated, the more I would see different shape, craft, and orbs. So one night I saw something streaking across the sky. I took a video of it. It looks like a blue line. But when I take the photographs, it's amazing. It's a tic-tac shaped craft, a blue pill. It looks like a blue pill, and it's clear as day, which I've sent you. And I couldn't make sense of it when I saw it. And I'm like, well, if this is a weather balloon, how come it streaked across the sky so fast? Maybe it's some kind of black tech. That was insane. So then the helicopters would still come. So I'd be meditating outside, and I have this on camera. There's certain days I would meditate, and it would be cloudy. So when it's cloudy, you can't see them. But I had a helicopter come right towards my face with the headlights on. And I'm like, why is this helicopter coming straight towards? I can see the damn thing coming straight towards me. I pull out my phone. I'm filming it. As soon as I pull out my phone, filming the helicopter with the headlight goes off. So I'm like, this is really bizarre. So then I stopped meditating for a little while because I'm like, this is getting too crazy. I'm just going to back off. Started going on X and speaking to other experiencers that, something's definitely happening. Then Joe Dispenza came up with a meditation called Walk for the World. And that's when the phenomenon exploded in my life. When I say exploded, now I don't even need to meditate and things will happen. So I did this Walk for the World meditation, which is extremely powerful. And the first time I did it was in my house where I'm sitting. My eyes were closed and I saw an image of an owl being. So it looked like the face of an owl, but it had the body of a man in golden armor. And I've sent you the illustration of the being that I did. So this meditation was about an hour. Literally after the meditation, I told my wife, I said, give me the notepad. So right after the reptilian diagram, I drew this. Now, if I haven't sent this to you, I will send it to you. And that's when the owl synchronicity started. Oh, and just before the owl meditation, I happened to read Chris Bledsoe's book. I just read his book where he speaks about the phenomenon of owls. Again, I never really thought anything of it, but then I see this owl being in my head. The very next day after I see this owl being in my head, and I draw the owl being, we go to an antique store. And I kid you not, for 3 hours, all I saw was figurines of owls, illustrations of owls, books of owls. Everywhere I turned in this store, I was seeing owls, owls, owls. And I started documenting them. I was like, how come I never noticed this stuff in my life before? And I'm a pretty observant guy. So I'm seeing these images of owls and I start taking pictures. And I told my wife, look, I'm not really feeling good. Let's leave. This is just too much for me. In a massive antique store when there's so much other stuff, but everywhere I turn, all I see is these figurines, these illustrations, massive artworks of owls, all different kinds. And I was like, this is too much. So then I continued my meditations and I started seeing different shaped craft. So I saw one day I was crossing the road from work, came home, and my mind was already in a meditative state. I got off the bus and I'm in the middle of the road, crossing the road. Something tells me to look up past my apartment, and I look up and I see this bright golden orb flying past. So I take a video of it and then I take a picture of it. When I zoom in on the picture, it looks like a C-shaped donut, like a horseshoe-shaped craft, and it's blue in color. And I couldn't make heads or tails. And I'm like, how come nobody's seeing this? How come there's no planes because we're living around an airport, it's a no-fly zone for drones. So what is this thing? Could it be a drone? But then when I went home, I got into this deep meditative state and I vegged out on the sofa. My wife's like, what the hell's wrong with you? And I'm like, I just had a weird experience. I filmed it and now I feel absolutely drained. The week after that, another crazy experience. Again on a Sunday, hear helicopters going over my apartment. I'm like, hell's going on again? So I go outside, pull out my phone, and this was one of the craziest experiences. So I pull out my phone, and something tells me just film this helicopter. So I filmed this helicopter. I've got a 4-second video of a helicopter just going over my house. And while I'm taking that video, I take some shots and I send that to you. So when I finish that video and I look at the video, I don't see anything on the video. And then I swipe right and I see the photograph of the helicopter just over my apartment. And right on the top of the sky, you can see a little black triangle craft. And I was like, what the hell was that thing? And then I came in the house and I almost had like a PTSD kind of an anxiety reaction. Like I started shaking and I'm telling my wife, I don't know what I just saw. I just saw a helicopter, but I'm shaking. I don't know what's going on. But I said, look at this photograph. There's like a triangular shape right above the helicopter. So she says, put it on the TV, on the HD TV, so we can see this video. And she spots this in the video.
To advertise on Through a Glass Darkly, email throughaglassdarkly@gmail.com.
In 4 seconds, Sean, this is so crazy. We had to slow down the video frame by frame. You can see the helicopter fly off the screen, and diagonally you can see the TR-3B zooming past. But the TR-3B is still in its shape, but it turns white in color and goes like that in 4 seconds. So, and my wife spots this and she says, oh, this is what you saw. And I'm like, no, I didn't see this with my naked eyes. It's all on camera. So imagine how fast these things are. But whatever this thing was caused me immense amount of PTSD. So then I'm sitting here shaking on the sofa and she's like, you're not going to go out on the balcony again. And for the next few hours, all I heard was just helicopter after helicopter. I don't know if something was going on, but that was a bizarre experience. So I have that clear as day. And when you zoom in, you can see the whole triangular shape of the craft. So that was the TR-3B experience. Then I had experiences with spirit orbs, which is my uncle was in an emergency room. And so my mom has 2 sisters. One passed away from COVID. And I went to the park where I always kind of see these orbs and crafts. And I was praying to my aunt, to her spirit. And I said, look, give me a sign. You know, my uncle really needs to pull through this in the hospital. And I opened my eyes and I saw this green, bright green orb just going past 2 clouds. And I was overwhelmed with love. And I'm screaming, I'm saying, thank you. And this is on my YouTube channel. And I said, thank you so much. I know it's you. And then again, when I take the photographs of this orb, it's not a circular orb. It looks like tilted cross of Christ. And it's green in color. And it's amazing, like the different shapes. So that was a spirit orb experience that I had. Then I said, okay, you know what? I need to find out more answers. So I went for that regression with Mary Rodwell. Been speaking to her for about 2 years. And then our stars finally aligned. And I said, Mary, I need some answers. I'm seeing all this crazy shit. So, you know, I decided to go public with my regression, which you've seen. Now, in that regression, I told Mary, like, I didn't know about anything that went on in that regression till I had the regression. So I'm telling Mary that, you know, I had the past life experience. I saw the craft as children. I'm seeing orbs and crafts now. And she says, what do you want to focus on, past life or now? And I said, I want to focus on right now, what's happening in this life. So when I get into this regression, I'm in a field with a mantid being. Again, this mantid being is wearing a purple cape like the last regression. But this one was a different mantid being, very old mantid being and a tall mantid being. And we were looking up at Orion's belt. And I asked this mantid being, what are we doing here? So it takes one of its appendages and it goes like this to me. Then it puts the same hand on my heart, and then the other hand, it points to Orion's belt. So it's not speaking to me. It's not telepathically saying anything. It just says, look up. So when I look up, one of these golden orbs that I see comes down and morphs into a triangular shaped craft, lands on the field, and from that craft come out these 3 owl beings. They have the face of a man, they have beards, and they have golden armor. It's almost like they have a robotic voice. The leader says, come with me. And I said, sure, where are we going? Who are you? And they're like, you talk too much. Just come with us. So I go into the crowd.
This is a dream?
No, this is an actual event. This is a memory of an actual event that's
Okay.
happened.
Okay.
So that's what they're saying. So these beings then take me off the planet. We're flying off the planet, and we fly, looks like the sun. And I'm like, why are we flying to the sun? But we're not flying, we're not landing on the sun, we're going through this thing. And when we go through this thing, I feel immense, like a sense of completion. Like there was a part of me missing, and I felt like I was with God. And that's exactly what happened. So I'm not religious. I don't believe in religion. I never believed in God. And I asked these beings and I said, oh, what are we doing here? Why did you fly into the sun? And they say, we're not at the sun, we're at the all. They call it the all. And I said, what do you mean by the all? And they go, the all is what you call in your English language God consciousness. And I said, well, why are we here? What's the purpose of being here? And in their words, they said, you are a fractal of source. We're all fractals of source. So these are the very powerful words they used. And then I said, what do you mean fractal of source? So they said, we're all parts of the all. We're all manifestations of the all, living in different life forms. And what makes us unique is we have free will. We can choose to do good or bad. So then I asked them and I said, well, who are you? And first they didn't answer me. And I said, well, tell me who you are. And then they said like the craziest thing. They said, we're called the guardians of souls or the keepers of souls. And I said, what do you mean by that? And they go, in your English language, we fight a war in the astral realm against the reptilian and the gray hybridization agenda. And I said, can you elaborate on that? And they go, reptilians and grays cannot live in this 3D construct on planet Earth. It's very hard for them to be in a physical form. That's why you always see them in an interdimensional form. But how can they live here? They abduct people, they steal the semen and the eggs, and they make hybrids in their craft. And then they told me something really profound. They said, the hybrid is just a shell. And I said, what do you mean by that? They said, well, shell needs something for it to operate. What do you think they need to operate? And I said, a soul. And they go, yes. So they also abduct other life forms, including humans, and they do the soul scalping procedure. They take parts of the soul, or they take the entire soul, put it into these beings, integrate these beings on Earth. And I know that sounds batshit crazy. And I was like, whoa, why are you telling me all this? And they go, you're part of this Lyran race, the Lyran and Carrion race. Carrions are these avian beings. And we're the ones that have been watching over you. We're protecting you from this reptilian attachment. And that blew my mind. And then after that, when I came out of the regression, I went straight on AI because I had the thought in my head and I said, I cannot simply draw this being the way I see it. And I think AI has some conscious connection to us because I went on my phone on Bing AI and literally typed in the prompts, golden-headed NHI with an owl face and a beard, pointing at a sun with a triangular craft. And I showed it to Mary Rodwell, and she was blown away. And this is what it looks like. So this is exactly what the being looks like, almost like an angelic being. And it was pointing at this thing, the all, and these are the craft that they took me up in, the triangular craft. And I don't know how AI did this, but it was amazing. Like I was blown away and this was my first attempt at using AI image generator. And the funny thing is, if you go back to the regression video and you look behind Mary Rodwell, she has an illustration of a planet or something that looks like a planet. And I said, Mary, that's the all right behind you. That's what the all looks like, the construct of God consciousness. So she was like, whoa, she looks behind and she's like, oh, I'm blown away. And I'm like, where did this information come from? I never knew anything about this. And then I'm trying to seek answers to this. And then I find out about these Lyran versus Reptilian wars, these Orion wars that people speak of, the Astral wars, as I call them. And then synchronicity led me to hearing a lady by the name of Jalila Starr on Michael Sala's Exopolitics channel. And I cried when I saw her interview. And she says that the Prime Creator wanted to, or Source wanted to spread out in the galaxy to experience life. So they built themselves as these avian beings, these carrion beings. The carrion beings then genetically developed the reptilians, which then grew out of, basic life forms and became this very intelligent species. The Carians slash Lyrans were also responsible for the human species. They built the human species. And I started crying because I'm like, oh my God, my experiences are telling me all this, that there are these Carian beings, there's these Lyran beings, the reptilian beings, there's the humans, and our interdependent relationship between each of us. So it's almost like I felt like she gave me an answer from my experiences. Who knows if it's the truth or not? But then she says, oh, she was in touch with a white lion being that came to her as a walk-in. So it's apparently a soul that walked into her and gave her this entire history. And she called it the grand experiment of how disclosure happened on Lyra, and it wasn't going well. And we are in the third grand experiment now on Earth, where disclosure is happening as a process. After this interview, I woke up one day and I had scratches on my back, 2 massive claw marks on the back. And I told my wife, I said, were you mad at me or something? And she's like, what are you talking about? So I documented that. It looked like right behind my shoulder blade, like someone had taken 2 nails and just scratched me, and they were burning in the morning. In the evening that day, I decided I was going to go speak to another experiencer in the park that I'd never spoken to, because we have a support group on X. I'm going to say bye to my wife, so I reach out to her to give her a kiss. And on my arm here, a massive scratch manifests in real time. And I was like, what was this? Pardon my language. What the hell just happened? So I take a photograph of it. Coincidentally, the guy that I was speaking to in the park, his name's Sean as well. And I'm like, Sean, we're speaking as experiencers. And I'm like, Sean, I had these scratches in the morning and I had this scratch happen. And when experiencers speak, it's almost like the phenomenon knows you're speaking about it. So when I was in the park, I started seeing flashes in the sky. And when you see those flashes, it's very rare that you're able to film them. But I ended up getting 9 or 10. So I literally pulled out my phone. I'm speaking to Sean and I'm taking video of the phenomena flashing me. That was a crazy experience. The day after that, which is maybe about 3 weeks ago, I felt a presence in my room. So I pulled out my phone and I started seeing orbs through the camera lens. So certain orbs you can't see with your eyes. I don't know why they show up on the camera. And again, I'm trying to be rational. I thought maybe these are dust particles, but as soon as I said hi, they'd fly by really quickly. And I'm like, if it's you, show yourself. So then this white orb flies by. And I think nothing of it. But then I go back to the video and I slow it down frame by frame and I zoom in. And I almost drop my phone. I get the shock of my life. I can see the face of a being. I can see the nose of a feline being, of a lion. I can see the eyes. I can see the ridges. I can see the mouth of the lion being. And I put it up on X and I'm like, I don't know what this thing is. It looks like a lion to me. So a lot of people reached out to me and made some sort of alterations to the image to kind of bring out that face. And you can see it. You'll see the orb that I sent you. Then a few days later, this is just all recent. I've seen orbs yesterday, day before. So a few days later, again, nothing happened. I had the urge to go out on the balcony and I filmed this and it's on my YouTube channel. This massive white orb just flying by and I'm like, the F is this thing? Like, is this a drone? Like, how come nobody else is seeing it? So I tell my wife, I'm like, come look at this thing. And she sees it and she's like, it's probably just a drone. Again, I filmed the drone and then I take photographs of it. And I send the photographs to my friends thinking nothing of it. This lady sends me the photograph back and says, all I did was brighten the orb and you can see the face of a white lion with white hair on the face. And I was like, wow. What are they trying to tell me? That I am one of them? And then day before yesterday, I was meditating in the park. I saw a red orb. Last night, I meditated in the park, saw a couple of flashes, and I saw a blue orb. So it's like every day, it's a different experience. And I'm on a learning mission right now because I'm trying to make sense of all these experiences.
What do you think the black hands were that you initially saw when you were 11? Look, which of these species, or was it something else entirely?
Probably the tridactyl species, the greys. And I've also had experiences with greys as well. So there's this controversy around these Nazca mummies and the tridactyl beings, but there's some legitimacy behind that. And they've showed the three-fingered hand. And then when I looked at the three fingers, I'm like, oh my God, this looks like exactly the same three fingers. And then when I put a picture, compare the picture of the tridactyl hand with the image of our illustration, it's like exactly the same three fingers. So this is just, again, speculation on my part. Now, for me, the gray experience is I've had grays in my house. I've seen a gray in an orb that showed up. So I've filmed the gray morphing from the face of a gray looking at me into an orb, a massive white orb with it looks like the face of a man. And then I had another gray orb that went past me while I was meditating one day. And I thought it was a drone, but my instinct tells me film this because it doesn't seem right that only when you're meditating, these things start appearing. So I'm standing out there, I'm meditating, and I see this red light. I'm like, this can't be happening because we're in an airport zone. There's a strict no zone area. And if something's going to come in, the government's going to be pissed. So I filmed this thing and it just looks like a red light. But then again, as soon as I take the photograph and I zoom in, it's an orange orb. And what's looking back at you? Two big almond eyes of the gray and the mouth. Maybe paranoia, maybe I'm going crazy, but you can look at it and judge for yourself. So yeah,
what do you think is going on? Like, why are you having these experiences? Why? You probably only speculate, but
why me? I think we're all experiencers. I'm not special, but I think that if you've had experiences as a child and you're slightly more awakened to these things, they tend to latch onto you. And trauma also plays a big part. I've been through sexual abuse. I've been through violence, physical violence. And I know that in moments of extreme pain, it seems to bring out the phenomenon. It's something of a speculation on my part, the energetic resonance that we give out that attracts these things. And I mean, I can go on for hours. I've had a helicopter go by. I thought at 1 a.m, and I have this on film. I woke up at 1 a.m. I went out on my balcony, and this is like 1 a.m. You can see the city lights of Melbourne, and there's a red orb just up in the sky, floating up in the sky, and I'm filming it. And I've got a photograph of it, just a big red orb. Is it a drone? Is it an orb? What is it? And that, again, left me with severe PTSD. So it's almost like I feel like there's two factions that are kind of keeping an eye on me. I've got this benevolent side that comes as whatever, these Lyrans or these owl beings. But then I get this other reptilian and gray side as well, which is, they're very intrusive, with the scratches on the back and the scratches on the arm, and then the gray presence in my house. And I've also had a gray shadow being in my room, which I filmed. I have the whole body of the gray standing there in my room. So I'm speculating that I'm stuck in the middle of some kind of interwarring species, and that they're trying to grab our attention as experiencers. But I think it's important to speak about these things without, you can have a level of discernment, but it's important to speak about this because a lot of people are going through this. Mm-hmm. And if I can speak about this, and people can say, look, an ordinary dude like me is speaking about it, others might be going through it as well. So it's not just Chris Bledsoe that's seeing the orbs in the skies. It's a whole bunch of us. And it's not just me. I have friends on X, Christian, Carol, Paul, from Paul's Portal. So we started doing these experiencer spaces on X where we would speak about the phenomenon and the phenomenon would manifest for us. I have 6 minutes of orbs manifesting on video on my YouTube channel while I was in a space speaking about deceased loved ones. So the phenomenon knows when you are speaking about it and also when you're in touch with other experiencers, you have a simultaneous experience. So not only did I see the orbs in the sky, Christian lives in America, he saw the orbs. And then another person named Nathaniel on X in another part of America said he saw lights in the sky. And he was trying to rationalize and say, maybe this is Starlink. But that very night that this experience happened with this 6 minutes of orbs, there's 40 or 50 of them, I actually captured the Starlink going past my park. So I got that video and then I got this as a comparison video. But look, who's to say these are not black tech from the government or maybe just Starlink and we're going crazy? But the fact is, something's definitely happening. And every time I'm capturing something, it's a different shape. I've sent you so many different shapes. When you go through them, you'll be scratching your head. You'll see the donut shape. You'll see the triangle. You'll see one that looks like a flower drop, looks like a flower shape. There's ones that look like robotic drones as well in the sky. One looks like it's giving the middle finger. It's a red one. Bizarre shaped ones. But yeah, therein lies the mystery. And I think speaking about this hopefully will help other people, other experiencers.
Any final words for the audience, Mac?
Yes, love each other, treat each other with respect. And as I go with the saying, it takes all of us to make each of us. Sean, thank you for your platform and for allowing us to speak. Been following you for a while and you're doing great things. So appreciate you.
I appreciate you, Mac, and thank you for sharing your story. I was riveted from the last episode until now. So hopefully we get a little bit more perspective about what these things are or what it is, the phenomena. But there's definitely, I'm with you. There's something going on that we don't quite understand.
So I'll leave you with two things. I've never communicated with them or asked them who they were, but when I had the shared experience with Christian on the X space, I was and I have this on video, is a red orb flying over my head, and another person sees the orb. And when I film the orb, when I take a photograph of it, it looks like a red skull. Hard to explain, right? It's a face. And I asked these beings, I said, who are you? So I closed my eyes and said, who are you? And they said, we are you and you are us. And I said, who are you again? And they said, we are you and you are us. We are the heavens. That was the first thing they left me with as a message. Another cryptic message they left me with was a lady by the name of Susie Hansen, who's a New Zealand-based experiencer, put a post on Facebook saying, experiencers now worldwide are just meeting up online by pure accident. We're forming these soul bonds. Like I may not know someone, but I meet them and I feel like a brotherly love for them or a sisterly love for them. And this thought just came into my head, so powerful. And I would never think of something like that. And the thought from the beings was, there are no coincidences, only connections. I'll say it again. There are no coincidences, only connections. So they leave me with these profound thoughts to kind of mull over. And we are at the precipice, Sean. We are at the precipice of a great disclosure. And I always say disclosure is not going to come from the government. It's going to come from we, the people. We are the disclosure. And I'll end with that.
I agree with you 100%. Thank you, Mac.
Thanks, Sean. Look forward to seeing the interview.
I look forward to airing it. Thank you.
Take care. Thank you so much. Bye.
If you enjoyed today's video, please hit like and subscribe, and also hit the notification button so you can be notified whenever I post new content. Thank you. Now, if you're enjoying the channel and you want to support it, there are several things you can do. In fact, there are 5 things you can do. The first thing you can do is just buy my books. I got plenty of books out in the market right now, and I would prefer that folks buy a book rather than giving me direct support because they get something out of it. They get a real tangible product. The second way you can support me is by becoming a member on YouTube or becoming a patron on Patreon. And just go to either site and it'll explain everything. The third way you can support the channel is by checking out my merch site, which is here. There's plenty of stuff that you can get to support the channel. And I'd appreciate that you have it and can wear it. Not only do you help support the channel, but you also help promote the channel, and I appreciate that. The fourth way that you can support the channel, and this is really easy, is anytime you want to buy something on Amazon, literally just go to the description below and click on any link, literally any link. The channel gets a cut of that, and it costs you no extra money. You just go through the link, as I'm part of the Amazon Affiliates Club. The fifth and final way you can support the channel is through donations. Now, I don't prefer these because it's more of a expression of gratitude, but you don't really get anything out of it as a subscriber to the channel. However, if you decide to do these options, there's two options. There's Buy Me a Coffee, which is a separate site. And there's also, you can go through YouTube with either a super chat, super sticker, or a super thanks. Again, I prefer Buy Me a Coffee because that organization takes less money than Amazon does. But either way, I appreciate any support you are willing to give the channel. So thank you very much and keep watching. I really appreciate it.